Parents of Reddit, what is the worst thing you have ever done in front of your teenage kid? Hope this qualifies. With our daughter away at college, the wife and I would take advantage of many situations to do the bump. One day I came home from work and I heard a shower running. I went into the bathroom and reached inside the shower curtain and pinched her ass. All of a sudden I hear this voice say, "What the fuck, dad?" Apparently our daughter decided to come home for the weekend unannounced. I think I was more fucked up over it than she was. I haven't drunk much alcohol over the last 10 years, but about 3 years ago I had a few too many. Kids were 13 and 16. We'd gone to a relative's barbecue which was walking distance from home. Hadn't planned on drinking, but that's the way the night went. Eldest went home early, so the boy and I wandered back after midnight. I remember fighting with them in the living room. The next thing I remember is being in bed feeling sick. I was sick where I lay and tried to get up but couldn't, and thought, well, I've messed the bed up already, I may as well just carry on here. Then I got up to have a shower. Opposite end of the house. Kids woke up. I didn't have a towel, so I ran back through to my room in the booth and collapsed on the floor. I woke up hours later. The kids had covered me up, stripped and cleaned my bed, washed all my sheets, dried them and remade my bed. They still bring it up. Remember when mum was drunk and threw up over herself? Yeah. Don't talk about all the times I wasn't drunk and was being a good mum, eh? I like to think of it as a deterrent. I was a college freshman and had come home for winter break, and the boyfriend had just flown in to visit. He was going to meet my parents for the first time ever. I was out giving him a tour of my hometown when I got a call from my dad. All he said was, "Pumpkin, get back the house and check out this big ass fire I made." I drove us home after he spam called me 4 more times and kept yelling about how cool the fire was. I rarely ever saw my dad drink when I was growing up. He'd always been hyper responsible and straight-laced. He's exactly like Hank Hill, except with a different southern accent, and he's a nerdy electrical engineer instead of a propane salesman. I came home to find my dad and his brother blackout drunk, stumbling around a huge bonfire in the backyard looking for more sticks to throw in the pit, holding their own half-empty bottles of whiskey, and wearing matching cowboy hats. I have no idea where they got the cowboy hats. My then boyfriend introduced himself, and instead of asking him about how his flight was, how school is going, where we went that afternoon, or any of the normal pleasantries you'd ask your daughter's boyfriend, my dad blurts out, "Have I ever told you all about the one and only time I ever did cocaine?" He launched into a story about how he did lines of coke in a hot tub with the local weather lady at a community theater cast party in the 80s. Then he and my uncle spent hours telling us crazy shit they did before my cousins and I were born. And then they called my future husband a pussy for not doing whiskey shots. My daughter was 17 when this happened. An old friend called me and wanted to hang out, so I said sure. I'm not a drinker, but occasionally I'll smoke weed. Until then I'd only smoked out of pipes and occasionally a doob. My friend handed me this weird looking pen thing, and thinking it would be like a normal high, I hit it hand 3 times pretty hard. This wasn't like smoking a doobie. I was the highest I had ever been, and my friend saw this and took me home. It happened that my daughter was home. Summer. When I got through the door, I went directly to my room thinking I could just sleep this off. Unfortunately, I am one of those people who gets ravenous when I get high, and I was in no way able to cook anything. So I'm thinking about what I had in the kitchen and my brain flashed on cornbread. I could make cornbread. It turned out I couldn't, and I gave up after mixing the ingredients. So I've got raw cornbread mix and I'm really goddamn hungry, so my messed up brain just says fuck it, eat the cornbread, and I did. About halfway through the bowl my daughter comes in the kitchen. There is no way in hell I can hide eating uncooked cornbread, so I looked at her and said hi. Guess what? Her answer? "Mom, I know you're high." The story is not over. An hour later I'm still high watching YouTube. I happen to be watching something like this. My daughter is crazy talented with makeup. I am not. She already knew I was stoned anyway, so I asked her to give me a makeover like that. She did, but it turned out terrible. The reason it was so bad was because I turned on my webcam just to watch transformation during the process. I could not stop laughing at how ridiculous I looked the longer she spent on my face, which made her laugh. She still gives me shit about 5 years later. Went to my 12-year-old son's end of season dinner for his sports team. Just an informal get together at a local family pizza place on a Friday night. One of the parents brought multiple cases of wine with him. Wine salesman. And we all went a bit nuts. I don't drink much these days, so it hit me extra hard. Apparently when we were walking home I was hiding in the bushes, then leaping out at random people pretending to be a Nosferatu type vampire and hissing at them. Hissing. My poor kid was mortified. Peas, I'm a hobbit-sized woman, so the people passing weren't scared by me, just bemused annoyed. When I was 13 or 14 my mom was deep into her meth addiction, but I didn't realize at the time. One night I had my best friend over and my mom brought us, along with my little brother who was 4ish, with to pick up money from my stepdad. After we get there and she runs in, she comes back out and hands something to my friend and asks her to put it in her bra until we get home, since she was driving without insurance and a suspended license. We get home. Friend gives it back. We forget about it. Anyway, 10 years later we realize my mom had actually given her the meth to hold on to in case she was pulled over and searched or arrested. So that was something. Edit. Well, holy shit. My mom is fine now. She hit her 3 years sober this year, so we're really proud of her. She's still kind of mess, but I love her anyway. For all the things she did when I was growing up and the situations she let and encouraged me to get into. It's amazing I've grown up to be the person I am, and same for my little brother. I'm incredibly proud of her, and while I acknowledge the fucked up shit, I forgive her and I think that's all she really wants in return. Most recovering addicts just want to know they're still loved and that they're forgiven. Not my children but my much younger little sister. Me and my wife visited my parents for the weekend. Having spent my adolescence fantasizing about what I would do in my bedroom if I only got the chance, I figured this was my opportunity. Me and my wife went into my room before dinner and fulfilled my dream of doing a 69 there when my sister, 12 years at the time, walked in on us. We didn't have a comforter or anything covering us, so she got to see everything. That was an awkward weekend to say the least. As my mum is near incapable of using a computer, I'll share on her behalf. One night she got ridiculously drunk and came home. She called me from her bedroom and said she had something to show me, and I reluctantly go to her. She's in her bedroom holding a thick translucent purple vibrator and she says to me in slurred speech, "This is what mummy uses when she's lonely." To do this day I don't know WTF she was thinking when she did this. Edit. As lots of people have asked, I was about 15 at the time. Another edit. I should also clarify that she wasn't using the vibrator, just waving it around, which isn't much better. Friend was the parent. Found him in complete shock, saying he was trying to stay calm, but knowing he'd just messed up with his teenage daughter. Before breakfast at the start of what was going to be a non-stop busy day, he decided to shoot a foreplay text at his girlfriend about some kinky thing he was going to do to her that night. At the table he decided to sneak it in while his daughters went into the kitchen to grab the food. Only he accidentally sent it to one of them, and it notified on her phone as they were walking back to the table. He said the girl sat, and the one asked why he just texted her. He said as he quizzically watched her eyes process what she read, look at him with betrayal, and then his heart slammed to a stop. He realized what happened too late, or he said he would have dove across the table and knocked the phone out of her hand. Cue a profuse apology and long address to men, tearful questions about how daddy wasn't lying, that every man should respect women. It's just that some women want to have certain things done and said when it's only supposed to be a private matter between two consenting adults. She now is over it, but from then on he went from being her hero to just an any man. My little guy was about 1 year old. He loved playing with Duplos. They are just big Legos for toddlers. We'd build stuff together almost every day with his Duplos. One day, I was high on meth. And when I'm on meth, I don't like to interact with anyone. I was fucking around on my computer all day, occasionally hiding in the bathroom to take a hit or two, then coming back out to my computer. And I've got the TV on Nick Jr. to babysit for me so the kid will leave me alone. Now it's 9 PM and I'm gonna put the kid to bed, and I think to myself how nice it will be with him asleep, cause I'll be free to lerp out on my computer and maybe jerk off or something once he's in bed. I stand up from my computer desk and say to the kid, "Okay, buddy," and he looks at me, grabs a Duplo block and smiles and runs to me all excited because he believes I'm going to finally actually play with him for the first time today. But nope, he was wrong. I was just putting him in bed so I could keep acting like a meth addict without the guilt of ignoring my kid. That may not have been the last time I used, but it was one of the last. The kid is 6 now and I haven't touched the stuff since he was 1. And I make time for him every single day. Not the worst thing in life, but I do get a little angry behind the wheel. I was driving with my son, and when other drivers do incredibly inconsiderate or just plain stupid things, I feel the overwhelming need to see who the F this person is. I slam my horn and sometimes hit the gas a bit to catch up and overtake them, give them a look, or shout at them, often through a closed window. Now my son isn't, has always been, as many kids, observant. We'd watch shows together, and ever since he was small, I'd notice him watch me laugh, then look back at the TV, then back at me. He was building an internal library of what humor was. In the same sense, I see him observing me on the road and I can't help but feel ashamed at my anger and response to it. I need to be better for my boy's sake.